He's basically he's saying that women, the reason why these guys can't find any romantic opportunities is because women will not have sex with you if you don't have money. So the problem is that there's a class of men who can't get access to relationships because of the way women are constructed, which is they only care about men if they have resource, which is just not the case at all.
I mean, I think what his logic train, which I think is an incorrect assessment, not based on data, but based on notions, and also not logical, is just trying to launder the argument that women need to be in relationships with men, and we've lost that like idea or that commitment, and it's causing major problems socially. And it's partially on women to right men, to make them whole.
Yeah.
And that men are supposed to meet certain standards to let women make them whole. And those standards, according to the marketing professor, is making money and being fit.
You tear down the house, then you put up the rent. You pocket the cash, and you crush all dissent.
Welcome to the Red Diaper Pail, episode 12.
This is your NPR voice. You have to do more vocal fry.
This is Simone. You know Delilah? Delilah at night?
No, I don't.
So he's told.
This comments like this a lot. We need you back, girl. What do we got to do? We need a comfort podcast. You don't need me back. Because I never left.
All right, Delilah.
That was you returning to work?
I never left. Anyways, welcome to episode 12 of the Red Diaper Pail. Welcome to episode 12 of the Red Diaper Pail. The date is December 3rd. This is a podcast about art, culture, history, politics, technology, and parenting from a left perspective. I am Simone.
And I'm Jean-Paul.
Or JP, as we like to call you.
Okay. If you would say. So how is being back at work going?
Well, the first day was awful, and I felt very sorry for myself. And then the second day was okay. And then that's all I've got.
I did notice how sorry for yourself you felt on your first day.
I felt very sorry for myself.
You were giving me, as a newly freed man from the yoke of wage slavery, a dependent. I was having a wonderful Monday, and you kept trying to give me tasks to do.
I know. The mantra I was telling myself when I was sitting at my desk is, his labor capacity is not your labor capacity. Or like, his labor potential is not up for grabs. Or like, you don't own that. Because I figure, I really have to tell myself this. Because I'm like, there's a bunch of shit to get done. And there's two freaking people.
I love that she told you this mantra between telling me things that I needed to get done.
Imagine what it would have been like if I hadn't been doing the mantra.
I guess so. Meanwhile, I spent the entire day editing this dang podcast.
You're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed it, even though it was a day late.
$1 short.
Yeah.
I mean, the editing is great.
It is.
Nominate us for a Webby for excellent editing. For outstanding editing of a enterprise podcast. What's like a high level prestige
podcast?
Prestige podcast.
I mean, honestly, the editing is the most professional part of this podcast.
That's true. I think that all of you listeners, you're in something. You're in early. Sure.
On the ground floor.
You should feel really proud of yourselves. And
help us get to the top floor by liking and subscribing.
Yeah, all you have to do is subscribe, like anything. Subscribe anywhere. Sounds getting brave. Sounding pretty desperate. Okay. Anyways, we've survived 2 re-entries to the workplace and 1 firing.
I was laid off. Excuse me.
Sorry, laid off. 1 bout of lice, a recurring bout of lice, 3 different colds, and I don't know, holiday, and we haven't missed an episode yet. So,
boom.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Okay. That was a lot of intro. I think you can cut most of that. Shut up. Okay. So, for horrible headlines, One of guess is not horrible. If you're taking notes at home, you can identify the one that's not horrible and email us. So more information on the National Guard shooter has come out. So we're going to talk about that again and actually have some interesting information.
All right.
So yes, he was a CIA asset in Afghanistan. But it turns out that he was basically he was recruited as a child and basically was on a death squad.
Yes,
So that's his resume.
indeed.
And then they brought him over here because they had to get people out.
Yeah.
And it seemingly abandoned him to just figure out life here.
Mm-hmm.
And then surprisingly, he was pissed off and also good at shooting things and decided to retaliate. But also there's evidence that people were reporting that he was really not doing well, like very, very much not doing well mentally. So that also was like known information.
Yeah. And that he was calling people in the military for help and they were not returning his phone calls.
Right.
Because they had used him up and they had no more use for him. So why are you bothering me?
Or perhaps they have poor customer service protocols.
So yeah, he was recruited as a child. These guys their job was to like be attached to like JSOC kill squads. Like the US Army sort of fought that war by saying if we just assassinate Taliban leaders, we'll win. And I think history has vindicated that as absolutely the case.
Yeah.
He
was on the Kandahar Strike Force, which was a counterterrorism reconnaissance force that went out in the middle of the night to locate high-level Taliban targets.
Yes. And this was under the auspices of the CIA because, actual like special forces are not allowed to do targeted killing. So they had to do it under the authority of the CIA instead of JSOC. But he was hanging out with, some really well-trained bad dudes and doing some really crazy shit probably. There's not a lot of information on what he actually got up to. But the people in the squad are known and they've been interviewed and so on and so forth. So he was recruited as a child to be a anti-Taliban assassination guy. And then when it blew up in their faces, they found him a job as a Amazon Flex driver and said, "Good luck. I hope that all that training we gave you is, I'm not sure what you do for people like this, but I'm probably sticking them in a sleepy town in Washington State as an Amazon driver and hoping that for the best is probably not what you do with them."
Yeah. I mean, there's a paper trail for years, even before he gets relocated to the United States, that he was unraveling and unable to function. And then, of course, he ends up here and...
Yeah, I mean, crazy amounts of trauma, unable to speak the language, desperate, like everyone else is, desperate for some way of making a living, finding that working for a living is the least profitable way to actually survive.
I mean, and he was trained as a child to commit horrifying war crimes against his own people for a country. I mean, the Taliban, not great, but like he's doing it on behalf of the United States, and then he ends up in the United States, and they're like, "Fuck you.
Yeah,
we got nothing for you."
This is not the first time that this has happened, where you have the United States invade a country and then use members of the local population to round out their military. And, people seem to be willing to collaborate, even though they almost always get treated as the most expendable person in the world, especially when the United States loses and they end up retreating and they don't take care of these people. They end up getting either killed in their country of origin or just abandoned someplace else. But you'd think that the U.S. military would do a better job taking care of these people just out of the desire to see people in the future, like being willing to do it. Because if you understood this is what was going to happen to you, I mean, but maybe people just, I don't know.
Very messy.
So there's 10,000 of these guys in the United States and their families. Trump is talking about deporting this guy's family, which is crazy because they'll just be killed. You can't really just land them in Afghanistan because the country has to actually accept the plane, and I don't think the Taliban is in a hurry to get these folks back. So what would you do? I mean, you can't. What would you do if this was your decision to make?
Yeah, it's really scary for the thousands of people that have similar stories to this guy.
Yeah, it must be terrifying if you're like, I'm just barely keeping my life going, and now I'm looking at perhaps getting uprooted again and shipped back to Afghanistan of all places.
Yeah. And the president of the United States is propagandizing this killing as that, well, all Arabs, I'm sure, are terrorists and bad immigrants, but that specifically I'm gonna be called that when I chose to work for the United States
Yeah, I mean,
against the so-called terrorists.
that's the like that they're literally gonna pretend they were radicalized as
Yeah.
Muslims. This guy was radicalized as a child by the U.S. military.
Yes. Directly. Not like, oh, we meet it like, indirectly or metaphorically. Like literally the CIA trained him to be a assassin.
To kill on behalf of the United States against, like you said, the Muslim fundamentalists.
Yes.
And now they're going to pretend that this happened because, what, the Taliban? Like he's a sleeper agent for the Taliban?
They're going to pretend it's like bad Biden immigration policies, which, by the way, it's both Biden and Trump administrations are at fault if we're calling this a fault, letting them in. And they're going to say that these are terrorists. It's insane. I don't know why you'd ever do a deal with the U.S. military.
Yeah. You don't have to intentionally do this to understand that if you create the situation, this kind of thing is going to happen. And this is like, it's surprising that this doesn't happen more often than it has already, given what these guys' training is, what their history is. Seth Harp, I heard, reporting on another one of these guys who was killed by the police at a traffic stop, he basically gave a rant. He didn't have a driver's license because he couldn't afford car insurance because he couldn't find a job. So he was pulled over without a license. He goes on a long rant, and included in the rant is, I should have chosen the Taliban. And it's like, yeah, that's the conclusion you go to. You drive around, you're making pennies on the dollar driving around American towns, and you're thinking, wow, did I fuck up?
And the National Guard shooter had recently been having trouble making money because there was immigration paper missing that was causing a bureaucratic nightmare for his family being able to make a living, and he couldn't get anyone to answer the phone.
Yeah.
So this is like, a child soldier back from a 10-year stint working for the CIA, being resettled in a country where you're non-country of origin. Apparently, you don't get a handler. You don't even get someone who can pick up the phone about an immigration paper problem. And if you get stuck in some sort of bureaucratic, sinkhole, of which there are many, probably even more for folks that are being relocated from Afghanistan, tough shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's not unique for people who can barely speak the language to be stuck in a, red tape nightmare of which there's no way to get out of. And then because of that nightmare, be forced to like live at subsistence level doing menial jobs. That's different about these guys is they have a lot of training that makes them very dangerous if they're starting to feel hopeless and like they don't have any other options. So you have to do some sort of like rehabilitation program on probably all of them, and it's not too late. But they won't do that. They're just, this is another chance for them to be cruel to somebody.
They will not do that.
Anyway.
All right. Speaking of another chance to be cruel, Pete Hegseth.
The SS Secretary of War. I don't know if you saw it, but his name tag at the press conference was SS Secretary.
Oh, well, what
is he's a Nazi.
What an idiot. Pete Hegseth authorized or ordered, depending on which version, a double tap hit on a Venezuelan speedboat in September. The Intercept has been reporting on it since the beginning. The Washington Post just picked it up and said that he ordered everyone to be killed. And that's a war crime.
It's indeed a war crime.
There's been some bipartisan criticism of him this week because of it.
Yeah, this is like the second big fuck up of his. This is a war crime under U.S. law and international law and maritime law. You cannot kill people who are defenseless, even if these are legitimate targets, which I really don't think that they are. No. I don't think they're legitimate military targets. But even if the United States Congress authorized it, let's say, and the UN said it's fine in this case, you can't sink a boat and then go back and kill the people who are on the boat. You can't do that. You're supposed to capture people maybe, but you're not supposed to kill people who are no threat to you at all. And it's probable that he didn't know that because he's a fucking idiot. He doesn't know anything.
Part of what's horrible and funny about this headline is just how poorly the White House is handling it, because it was initially reported that he said kill them all. Mm-hmm. And then Hegseth claims that, that's fake news. And then the White House confirms that indeed it did happen. There was a second strike. And they're trying to blame who ordered it on some admiral to get the blame off Hegseth, which is really low.
Although if the admiral was in the chain of command, he fucking deserves it.
Well, anyone in the chain of command it would be responsible for this.
Right. And if you believe that you're going to do yourself a favor by cooperating with these fucking assholes, because they will shoot you in the back.
Don't cooperate with them. But what I imagine is happening is Pete Hegseth is like in his little room watching his little video game console of these targeted shootings and saying shit like kill them all. But he's too much of a pussy to own it. And he actually thinks he can just get away with lying. So now his story is, oh, I was busy, so I left the room. But obviously, you know, people should have the authority that they need to have to do what they need to do. So, like, I'm in favor of it happening, but I didn't do it personally because I'm very busy. And then Trump goes, well, I probably wouldn't have authorized it, but okay.
Right, and that's Sir Hegseth, right, for thinking that Trump's going to have his back, fucking idiot.
So it's just it's such a circus. But it's also, you know, obviously also a war crime. So it's not like it's a circus and a war crime.
Yeah.
Welcome to 2025.
Indeed. The fascism circus.
Oh yeah, and he posted a meme of Franklin the Turtle sinking Venezuelan boats and then tried to backpedal it.
I'm sorry. Well,
Hegseth posted.
why is Franklin the Turtle sinking boats?
He took a cover. I mean, it was an AI generated image, obviously, because this is the White House.
Well, why Franklin the Turtle of all things?
I don't know. I didn't read Franklin the Turtle as a child, but he was shooting at the boats with a machine gun from a helicopter. Okay. And then Hegseth tried to backtrack that.
By saying, for real. I post that I was busy, someone else, this admiral authorized it.
This is like
this admiral's out of control.
Yeah, my password for X was just Pete123, and someone hacked it.
The thing that galls me most about this is like it's not an accident that they're targeting a Latino country and Latino people because they want the synergy between attacking Latinos in the United States and attacking them outside because they're subhuman. They don't belong in our society. They need to be removed. That's the
propaganda.
Yep. And like, you know, they ran on a anti-war platform, which is very compelling to a lot of workers. But I think the problem with that is that fascism needs war. It's like you cannot have fascism without having an external enemy, and you cannot be fascist and have an external enemy and not be taking the fight to them. It has to there's a line here that has to be followed, or otherwise you come across as weak or ineffectual or impotent. And if you don't have the external enemy, you can't get people riled up into like a feeling of like needing you as the strong man to protect them, right? So they had to find an external enemy and they had to go to war. And what they did was they turned this anti-war message into what it was like an anti-corruption message. The elite, which is not us and not you, this other group of people, are using war to make a lot of money for themselves at your expense.
Yep.
We won't do that, but what we will do is use the military for the glory of the nation, which is, in this case, I guess, to, you know, I said this before, like they're not going to do drug treatment programs. Everyone in the United States and their worldview deserves to die of drugs because those are weak-willed people. They made bad choices. They get what's coming to them. The taxpayer should not be doing anything to help them. And also at the same time, the taxpayer should be paying for these $1 million missiles to be blowing up these boats in the Caribbean because these boats are an external enemy bringing in poison to hurt American citizens, innocent American citizens. Both those things are true at the same time. And I think they post these videos of them blowing them up. And I guess Franklin the Turtle, because they want to whip people up into a bloodthirsty froth.
Racist anti-immigrant. Yeah, rhetoric. Yeah, totally. I don't know if they'll actually go to war with Venezuela. I mean, we've talked about there being oil there and it being it's a convenient enemy, not just because it's the Latinx country, but because of who the leadership is and the socialist background of the country. But it could be that this is just a propaganda machine, like a useful propaganda tactic to sort of do this like edge of war stuff to dehumanize a group of people. And
war is peace. I mean, it literally is war is peace.
Yep. So that's Pete Hegseth. He might actually be such a fuck up that he will get fired.
It's an interesting question because I kind of suspect they had like a churn the first time around, and I think that churn and the drama around the churn really kept them from being able to do anything. And I
Yep.
think the lesson
They're
they
trying to
learned was,
avoid that.
you do not apologize. You keep going. You say
Yeah.
everything we did. You know, they have Megyn Kelly saying she wants to see them suffer. Forget killing them. Can they torture them first and then kill them?
That's sick.
So they wanted to double down and triple down on that, on everything now, because not just because they want fascism, but also because it's pragmatic to stay on agenda and not sort of get, you know, they don't
Yeah.
want news reports to be like
They could
sniping at them.
They could absorb a churn right now, though. Elon Musk was a few months ago. They haven't had a big exit. I imagine we're going to have a couple big exits a year. And if that's the case, I cannot wait to see him prosecuted for war crimes.
I unfortunately, there's no way in hell the Democrats are going to prosecute any of these people.
Well, the International Criminal Court could.
Yeah, I mean, the International Criminal Court could recommend him but he'll just not travel. He's never going to get prosecuted for war crimes. I hate to tell you this. And the reason is,
I think we should do a citizen's arrest on Pete Hegseth.
We just talked about how...
Actually, you know what? I can find 10,000 highly trained, disgruntled CIA assets. I say we start a recruitment strategy. Let's get 10% of them. And then we'll just citizen arrest the war criminals.
Yeah, that's a nice thought. I mean, we just spoke about, this is a war that began under Bush, was continued under Obama, Trump, and then Biden. That they were doing illegal shit the whole time. They were doing essentially this war crime, which is killing defenseless people.
Yes.
You can't do that. You cannot find unarmed people and take them out. But because they did...
Well, and the double tap is like a very ubiquitous, horrifying military tactic that was made almost normalized by Obama.
Yeah. Yes. And Chelsea, I mean, the collateral murder video that Chelsea Manning leaked, that was a double tap, is what that was. So for decades, the U.S. military has been basically gesturing to the law, right? Like, the CIA is in command if it's not JSOC, so it's technically legal, even though it's still a war crime. And
now they're just gesturing to Franklin the Turtle.
Yeah, now they're doing Franklin the Turtle, which is because they wanted to have a different effect on the population. They want people to get all riled up. As before, they wanted to hide it. They didn't want you to have to see it and stick your nose in it. The point is, if they start prosecuting these people, I mean, Biden and Obama and all of these generals have been doing this shit for years, the same shit. They just knew better than to brag about it.
I can think of 10,000 Afghan nationals that might not mind. Taking them all down. Anyways, we're not calling for any violence against political leaders. Speaking of political violence, will Luigi be going free?
It's unbelievably, it seems like it fucking might be.
No, he's not going to go free. That's crazy talk.
I don't think it is.
They dropped the terrorism charges a couple months ago, which is a victory, and they are trying to get the gun in the notebook excluded as from evidence because the dumb police
Legal search and seizure.
Did a legal search and seizure and said on their body cam, quote, "At this point, we probably need a search warrant."
What police department is this?
I think it's in, I don't know. Were they in Virginia or?
I think it was North Carolina, but
What else? Luigi Mangione.
Come on, give me North Carolina.
He was at Pennsylvania.
God damn it. I was 2 states away.
Yep. So some doofus in Pennsylvania wearing a body cam, as he should, said to himself,
this is why they hate the body cam,
and to the camera and to the suspect, "At this point, I guess we need a search warrant," and then proceeded to search the kid and find the gun and the notebook, the two most critical pieces of evidence. So I guess if that gets suppressed, like, it's going to be a slightly harder case, but I'm pretty sure he's still going to get.
I mean, they already had a annulment problem, which is that the jury was going to be sympathetic to this guy. I guess you pick the jury very carefully so you don't get a sympathetic jury.
They have surveillance footage and they have circumstantial evidence regardless of the gun in the notebook.
But if you have to go through an entire trial with a bunch of, like, you know, people who don't have an opinion about this, I mean, imagine your mind who doesn't have an opinion about this. This is the only bipartisan thing that's ever happened in U.S. history, is everyone's in favor of this guy killing the detestable healthcare executive. So you have 12 people. Is that how big a jury is?
I know it's a federal jury, so it might be different.
9, 12. I don't know. People who
You've never been on a jury?
I have not had the pleasure. Who don't know anything about this, and you're not allowed to mention the gun or the notebook. You're not allowed to bring it up at all. that they found this stuff. Not to mention that there's a bunch of other evidence that was mishandled by the NYPD. The primary cop involved is a known liar, and the person who turned him in, the person who worked at McDonald's, their testimony is also unreliable. They're claiming things that happened that could not possibly have happened.
Well, I didn't know that. I think that plea deal. I'm thinking plea deal.
I think he bets it all on the trial.
I mean, I do think that that's sexy.
That's the most important thing.
And it would be really good for selling books and Netflix specials. So I'm down for that.
I mean, if he gets a plea deal and he does like 5-6 years, he's going to come out.
And he's probably going to get to be
a best-selling book, interviews all over the place.
He could be the Bachelor.
He could be the Bachelor. Probably not. I don't know if any major broadcasting network will endorse him, but he also has to live with I guess, terrible back pain that he has.
I was thinking about that today. I was thinking about his plight, and like life in jail would be really terrible if you had terrible back pain.
Yeah.
There's a lot of public pressure to be lenient on him, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of political pressure though to make an example of him. If he walks, think of the people who are watching this and go, "Oh, you can walk," because they fund these police departments out the wazoo. They're completely incompetent across the board. So what is the point of having them there? Just so that people can be scared of them, I guess? Because they're completely incompetent. They can't investigate anything. They don't even follow their own rules and procedures.
Yeah,
they're basically going to let this guy go. It'd be like turning around and he walks up to McDonald's and they're like, "Oops, where'd he go?" First of all, what's the point of the funding? But you have to be like, "Yeah, I can. My chances of getting away with this are pretty good."
I did hear that there was a prison guard that claimed he confessed, and that's also extremely sketchy and not likely believable. And I do know that the NYPD had like massively contaminated the evidence.
Yeah.
As I think is their duty.
I'm surprised there's any of us left. Someone could steal the gun and sell it on eBay.
Jeez Louise. Okay, well, that's Luigi, and that's the end of horrible headlines, but that one's not.
That one's very, that would be good. We need some good news. It'd be nice. That would be nice news to get. They let him go. Lack of evidence, the judge throws it at court. That'd be fun.
Incompetence wins again. Okay. All right, so you have the artifact.
I do. So I've been thinking a lot about the sorry state of men, particularly as it relates to dopamine addiction, reflecting on my own dopamine addiction, but also like once you notice it, like dads sitting in front of their kids on their phone while their daughter eats an ice cream,
You
like
can't not
by
see it.
themselves. Yeah, once you start seeing it, it's just that's all you see,
Yep.
and it's crazy. And moms are not perfect, but moms are not doing this like dads are doing this.
Yeah, moms are not doing it like dads are doing it. Like you could just look around at like school pickup and see that. Also, and there's evidence on this, but it's also, I think we all just know from a gut check reality, it's true. Moms do a lot more labor on the phone.
Oh, and dads are just scrolling.
Yeah, I mean, dads could be checking work email, but I'm talking about like household labor. There's a lot of household labor that women often take care of on their phone because like a lot of that's communication and coordination, these types of things. Obviously, I don't think that justifies being on your phone and ignoring your kid all the time, nor does it. It probably still has a similar dopamine impact, honestly. Like buying the stuff off Amazon you need for your house probably is better for dopamine than like watching your kids play Magna tiles. But
yeah,
there's a difference. Often there's a difference.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
But yeah,
that makes sense.
we could do like a whole series of photos we've taken of men's when they're the only caretaker sitting with their children at cafes or ice cream shops or any soccer practice and just like being completely absent.
Yeah.
And then
you
the kid is sitting there
I
alone.
mean, imagine the kid. Nothing is more important to this child than the attention from their parent. Like their parent is their entire universe, and the only thing they can see is they cannot wait for an opportunity to not have to engage with me anymore. Like I'm such a burden on them, and I am so in the way of the things that they actually care about.
Mhm.
Like how devastating is that?
Luckily, our kids like slap it out of our hands or start hurting each other, so we can't like
Dad,
neglect
Dad,
them
Dad.
as awkwardly for as long. But I've seen, especially like girl children, just sit there and just eat their cupcake.
Our 4-year-old grabs me by the beard and turns my.
All of them will do like a full-on phone slap to me,
Yeah.
and then I see red, but then I'm like, "Oh, I can't." Or if
So-
I'm typing on my laptop, they will all be like, "I'm typing on your laptop," and then I want to murder them.
Yeah,
I
that's-
don't. We don't
We don't murder.
We don't
but
murder them.
That is boys that annoy them. Okay, so
They're strong self-advocates.
yeah, indeed, we're too strong. Editor's note: sorry for the significant drop in sound quality for the rest of this episode. Don't know why, but Simone insisted that we move and record the rest of the episode inside a tin can. I do think it gets pretty interesting there at the end, though. So hold on tight. Thank you so much. All right. So anyway, I was thinking about this, and I got fed a clip of Scott Galloway on Bill Maher's show, which I think those two are perfect for each other. But
Scott Galloway is all over my feed, and I cannot explain why that would be happening.
it seems to be all the time. He released a book, and then he's all over the place. He just does this thing with Oprah. He's got Oprah endorsing his stuff now. So
I did not know who he was a few months ago, and that was better.
the world was a better place. I think if you have enough money and connections, you can sort of launch a blitz off of a book or something like that and suddenly become ubiquitous. And then people are like, oh, I guess he's everywhere. He must know what he's talking about. It helps to have $150 million when you start that process. But anyway, he was talking about how the tech industry basically exploits people's brains, particularly men's brains, to keep their eyes on the product for as long as possible, using a dopamine addiction or encouraging dopamine addiction. He says that we're sort of evolving. This process is evolving a new asocial, asexual man, which I think I don't have any particular disagreement with. So I looked into him a little bit more, and I found that he is kind of like everyone talks about right-wing populism, left-wing populism. He seems to be on this like centrist populist track where he reminds me a lot of like Warren Buffett's politics. He's trying to say that the excesses of capitalism are the problem and that these things should be reined in, but he does like lean a lot on like personal responsibility, personal self-helpy development stuff.
Yeah.
He lost me. I heard him talking about the Gaza thing, and he's on this train of like TikTok convince everybody this is genocide by showing you what genocidal actions are. I like how it's like, oh, they're just telling you it's a genocide. No, they're sort of showing.
I mean, that is clearly the talking point. Van Jones started it, and then you had Sarah Hurwitz at the General Assembly of the Jewish Federation, and then Hillary Clinton said the exact same thing last week.
Yep.
So there's a pretty core
which means they're all basically
messaging.
What they're doing is they're endorsing Trump, forcing the sale of TikTok to Ellison, which is fascism.
Nothing shows you fascism faster than anything related to the Gazan genocide.
Indeed. So,
anyways, yeah, his position on Gaza is insane.
He said it's not a genocide for the following three reasons. One, if it was a genocide, they would have just used a nuclear device. So they've shown restraint, which is they clearly want to depopulate and colonize this area and put a resort on it. So there might be a reason that they don't want to put a thermonuclear device into a small 2-mile city that borders, one, the fucking ocean, and two, fucking Israel.
I know. So
besides,
if that's not dumb guy logic.
He does this a lot. He says something kind of reasonable. He makes a very tenuous connection to something that he's calling evidence, and then he says, I get to be the guy who's backed up by data. These people on the right wing, they're freaks. They say things, they have no data. I've got all the data. But his data is always like, that's not quite what you said. That's not. The second excuse was they drop flyers and make phone calls before they bomb civilian areas, which is like, oh, it's not a war crime. If they found Hamas in his neighborhood and they bombed it, but first they dropped some flyers on it, then it would be okay, right? They could blow up his house and his neighbors' houses, and it doesn't matter who they kill, who's there, because they dropped some flyers.
So,
first.
I mean, it's not even worth disputing this because it's so dumb, but that is not how the rules of war work. That's not how international law governs what proportionality is or who you're allowed to hit. And it's certainly not how a genocide works. You cannot flyer, we are about to wipe out the entire group of people, and then wipe out the entire group of people and say you did not eradicate a group of people. Again, these are really stupid arguments that it seems like they make them stupid on purpose to challenge you to see the truth.
Yeah, it's almost like it's dunking on you. It's sort of it's haha, there's nothing you can do about it. We can say something outright ridiculous to your face. The other one was, and this one might be the most insidious and outrageous of all, is that the civilian death to combatant death is the lowest in this conflict and than any other conflict in the last, I think he said 20 years or something, which is, first of all, no one is saying that the U.S. conduct in Iraq and Afghanistan was like the model of like how you should treat non-combatants in a war zone. But even still, like, Israel's treating every single person of fighting age as an enemy combatant when they're doing their numbers. So I'd like to see what.
And they're still killing children.
Yeah, and they're still killed by the standards of other conflicts of an insane number of children.
Do you know his position on the campus protests?
Oh God, no! They're funded by Hamas.
He basically has the position, which is not surprising given his position on Gaza, but that it's, and this is similar to Jonathan Haidt's position, which is that these college kids have an orthodoxy of the oppressed versus the oppressor, and Jews have somehow gotten categorized as the oppressor. So the protests are inherently anti-Semitic, and he is a professor at NYU. He has called publicly for the swift and rapid arrest and expulsion of protesters
because they're necessarily anti-Semitic. Because they're
engaging
operating from a framework in which Jews are always the oppressor.
Harassment of the Jewish students, so therefore it's unsafe for the Jewish students. So really, stand-up guy. So let's see what he has to say about masculinity.
That's just really disturbing.
It's despicable. And this is when you have $150 million and you're a serial entrepreneur and you have all these successful podcasts and everyone shops you around. These are the positions you have to have. And he's glad to have them.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
But I'm sure he's got some hot takes.
Yeah, this is how you're going to avoid becoming a sad, lonely, asocial incel.
According to a quote-unquote centrist.
You have to make this stuff appealing to different groups of people, right? So you have to have like an Alex Jones blowhard type person for a certain demographic that sells you masculinity of a type that is completely laughable and disgusting to like everyone outside of that target demographic.
Yeah, so we're thinking he's occupying the middle lane.
Yeah, he's supposed to be appealing to people who are right to be disgusted by the likes of people who are disgusted by Andrew Tate or even Jordan Peterson. I think he's more congruent with Jordan Peterson from like a centrist to the right wing than Andrew Tate. But like these people all appeal to a different demographic. So this is his job is to get like the Oprah watching audience.
His podcast is called Raging Moderates.
Yeah, there you go.
And he endorsed Bloomberg in 2020.
Oh my God.
Because he fulfills the Democrats' need for a strong centrist candidate.
Yeah. So he's like what? He's
a capitalist.
Yeah. He's a Romney Republican, I guess.
Yeah. A neoliberal, a proud neoliberal, but nice.
Yeah.
And not what do you call it? A polished blowhard?
Okay, so this is Scott Galloway talking to The Guardian, Steve Rose, called Scott Galloway on the Masculinity Crisis. I worry we are evolving a new breed of asexual, asocial males. There you go. When his book, Notes on Being a Man, was released last month, it raced to the top of the bestseller lists. The U.S. author, tech entrepreneur, and podcaster explains his theories on dating, crying, and the rise of Donald Trump. So, before we get into this, what do you think his opinion on crying is?
I would imagine his position is you should cry.
So you see, not Andrew Tate, Alex Jones, you should never cry.
Oh. Well, yeah, I mean, those lanes are occupied.
Yeah. All right. It takes balls to title your book Notes on Being a Man. Steve, does it take balls to name it that? And superficially, Scott Galloway could easily be lumped in with a dozen other manosphere-friendly alpha bros promising to teach young men how to find their inner wolf. He is, after all, a wealthy, healthy, white, heterosexual, shaven-headed, 61-year-old Californian who made his name and fortune as a successful investor and podcaster. I don't know what Californian has to do with it. But in reality, he is almost the opposite. Liberal, left-leaning, and surprisingly sensitive. The guy who advises his readers on, quote, how to address the masculinity crisis, build mental strength, and raise good sons, has been described as, quote, the progressive Jordan Peterson, or Gordon Gekko with a social conscience. Isn't the whole point of Gordon Gekko that he doesn't have a social conscience? That it's just pure greed?
Yes.
Isn't that like he's like Batman, but without the billions of dollars in the bat suit? I mean, what is he talking about? What is Galloway is also sufficiently self-aware not to claim he has all the answers. Quote, I don't think it would be well received for me to say, this is how you become a man, he says, speaking from his London home. Notably, he doesn't say it because he doesn't think it's true. He just wouldn't be well received. What I'm trying to say is this is where I've had some success and mostly where I screwed up trying to become a man.
So he's somewhat self-deprecating.
Yeah. He's admitted to having screwed up ever, which differentiates him.
Mm-hmm.
And this article is doing a lot of work to differentiate him because that's his big problem is
he needs to be differentiated.
He needs
sure.
to be differentiated. When Notes on Being a Man was released in early November, it raced to the top of the New York Times advice bestseller list. Not the bestseller list, but the advice books bestseller list.
Mm-hmm.
And Galloway has been in demand in the media ever since, giving his take on what's wrong with men and what to do about it. Galloway suggests that the previous denial of the problem, especially by the political left, might have even put Donald Trump back in the White House. While Trump embraced the manosphere, the Democrats championed the interests of virtually every special interest group except young men, he argues. All right,
so it sounds like this book is a response to Trump getting elected, to me.
It's a response to, I think, the liberals being worried that, like, this conversation about what is a man and remaking man for the new era
is being taken over by the MAGA.
Right wing, and that they need to have something in the game, right? And I think there is an anxiety here that, like, white men are flocking from liberalism and from the Democrats because they see it as basically is there to tell them that they are the problem. That identity politics, which is embraced by the Democratic Party, says that all problems are really created by white men and that there's no place there for them. If they want things, if they need things, they're not going to get it from there.
Yeah, and implicit in his work and his belief that this book is needed right now is a dismissal, I guess, of how the feminist or leftist actual answers about masculinity in men. I mean, there is existing criticism and analysis of what's going on with masculinity, and it seems like those are fully dismissed by him. And he wants to create an alternative to, like, Trumpian patriarchy.
Yeah, I mean, our position has been that sexism hurts men and women significantly. Sure. I think that we have a critique of capitalism, which causes us to then critique the social forms created by capitalism, including sexism and, like, the gender of men, gender of women.
Right.
The liberals have resisted any critique of capitalism, but they still want to explain why people's experience of the world is that there are different expectations for men and women. In a lot of cases, in direct comparisons, men are benefiting without sort of saying how those tiny benefits actually are hurting men overall. So what they want to do is that they want to set up the men as the oppressor, women as the oppressed, and then ditto for, like, black and white, ditto for native born versus yada yada. And I think this is very intentional, is to say, like, you all these different groups of workers have different interests and they have different political vehicles to get those interests fulfilled, right? And if you do experience the world, because here's the dirty secret that people who play too much in identity politics forget, is that almost every single white man on the planet is more oppressed than they are oppressor. They are exploited on the job more than they exploit other people. Almost every single one. So if you go through life feeling like I'm always on the short end of the stick, not because of women, not because of black people, but because of your boss, right? And then you have a political party tell you that there's nothing you need because you're the net beneficiary of the systems that exist, and we're involved in changing those systems. Then you're going to go looking elsewhere to have your legitimate political grievances fulfilled.
Sure.
So there's something to this which I think is true.
Right. Well, so he's going to. Well, we'll see what this article says, but it seems like he's doing is he's going to latch on to the same thing that the same way the right wing is exploiting these anxieties and crises in masculinity. He's going to take the exact same thing and he's going to try to say, hey, it is true, and you've been abandoned by anyone who's critical of the structures and systems. Those leftists, those feminists have got it all wrong,
Yeah.
and they're victimizing you. Let me give you a different solution, and that solution will be liberal and obfuscate the actual systems in place that are causing it, and probably rely on like individual solutions like exercise and pay for dinner.
Yeah, make more money. Don't ask me how. Just make more money.
Just be like kind to your wife, like, dude.
Yeah, I mean that I think that's exactly right. It's like the liberal play here is not going to be like, oh, we forgot that white men are exploited too. They're going to say, oh, we swung too hard in favor of oppressed groups. We need to redistribute back from them some rights and power and resources. Which is to say that the power and wealth of capitalists can't be questioned. So all we're going to do is rejigger the pie that's left for working people, and
Right.
that means some of the stuff that women have gotten over the last 20 years they have to give back, which is again going to create like this is how you have a gender war. Is like we don't have anything in common. Every single issue is a zero-sum game between men and women, between white people and black people.
Right.
I mean, this is how you lead to a civil war. Is what they're doing.
Well, this is just another cultural contribution to the existing culture war. He's not undermining the culture war with this book.
No. He's saying that the liberals should shift slightly the knob on where they fall in that culture war.
Right.
What he's doing. Yeah.
Mostly to capture some sort of audience, I imagine, that I imagine Democratic pundits are paying attention to for the 2028 elections.
Yeah. But if you were a black person or a woman, you said the Democrat Party said, sorry, but you got too much stuff. Your situation is too good now. So in order for us to be politically viable, we have to give some of what you've got back to men.
Well,
Who would show up to the polls for that?
I don't think that's not how he's marketing his book.
No. Well, we'll see. I wonder if he'll say something specifically about how women are doing better than men because women are favored as opposed to.
I don't know. I haven't read the book, but I can't imagine they're leading with that. It's bad for a PR from a PR perspective.
Yeah. I mean, unless that's what men want to
hear?
Yeah. In his book, Galloway's solutions to men's problems often boil down to a set of pithy codes and maxims, some of which feel like sound common sense, while others might feel rather old-fashioned. All right, here we go. One of his oft-repeated tenets, for example, is that men protect, provide, and procreate. Are you kidding me? Men protect, provide, and procreate. Who are they procreating with?
I think maybe he got confused and he meant humans.
Humans.
I mean, those are just the things you do to survive.
Okay, or like if you're a boy, you don't procreate. Men procreate, so you have to be a father to be a man. You can't be a child. That's what
I don't think that's what he's saying.
Well, so this is the back to the article. You could easily say the same of women. So he's interpreting this as differentiating men from women and not men from boys. That's my thing. Is like the problem with men is they're like boys. They could do a lot better by being more like women. I think the obsession on the right is men are becoming too women-like.
Maybe they should just be adults.
Adults, right? I think that's what it is they need to grow up.
And when men grow up, those are things they do. Oh, so they're not in their mom's basement playing video games because they're busy
protecting, providing, and procreating.
Beating people with sticks, having sex, and getting money.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. You could easily say the same of women. Also, Galloway tends to see, quote, protect element in the context of men using their physical strength for good. Quote, real men don't start bar fights. They break them up. I would like to know how many bar fights he's broken up.
I mean, if the whole book is going to be quotes like that, where it's like, you're saying there's a problem, you're saying you've got evidence there's a problem, and then you're going to solve it with like silly little sentences like, break up bar fights.
I know what a man is. Trust me, I have $150 million. Here's my notes on how I became a man. I broke up bar fights. Not really, but if you think of me like that, maybe you'll get to what you'll sort of start to understand the way that I am.
Metaphorically, I broke up a couple of bar fights.
I learned about being a man by sitting in my room thinking about what it would be like to break up a bar fight, and those experiences of thinking about it have caused me to become a man. And he said, even if a lot of time the thing people need protecting from, especially women, is other men. And the provide element he couches largely in economic terms. Quote, I tell my sons, when you're in the company of women, you pay for everything. And if you can't, you don't go out. A woman is not going to have sex with a man who splits the bill with her.
That's such an old. I mean, what a silly take.
I mean, so what? So poor working class men are not having sex? Is his belief that all of these
Or
kids
they're not going out to dinner, I guess.
Right.
I can tell you that if Scott Galloway took me to dinner, I'd expect him to foot the bill.
Oh, because he has $150 million.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you?
But I
speaking
would. But I
only
would not have.
hypothetically-
Would not have sex with him.
No. Speaking only hypothetically, would you, if you went on a date tomorrow with someone you didn't know,
Okay, that sounds exciting.
would you expect to split the bill?
I would 100% expect to split the bill.
Would you at all change your opinion about whether you're having sex with this person or not based upon whether you were splitting the bill or not?
No,
Would you expect them to offer to pay the whole thing?
no, I would be weirded out if they didn't offer to pay half of it.
Yeah.
That would be surprising.
If they made you pay the whole thing, I guess
That would surprise me, but I think I would just assume maybe they didn't have the money.
Yeah. It probably also would have changed how you felt. Okay. He admits his sons tell him this is a boomer view of modern dating. Okay.
I agree with his sons.
Maybe they should write a book.
Which begs the question: who is this book for?
Yeah, well, I guess it's
is
for
he
boomers.
writing it for boomers?
Maybe that's what it is. He's writing it for boomers who are looking at their millennial sons, going,
Yeah, or the occasional like centrist Gen Xer.
"Why aren't you paying for dinner if you want to have sex?"
As if they needed him to remind them of their old takes.
They need him to make their dumbass boomer takes feel like there's legitimacy. There's
Sure.
data and legitimacy to these stupid takes.
Sure,
that they've
that
always
is
had.
definitely what his job is.
All right. Okay.
And the entire like media complex is like along for the ride because they are really flooding the zone with Scott Galloway.
All right. So here we go. Here's the difference. So Andrew Tate would call you a name if you said that's a boomer view of dating. He's got, I try to go where the data takes me, he says. Research shows that society and men themselves are really hard on men when they're not economically viable.
Yeah, it's really hard to be poor in this society.
Yeah, no kidding. And also, we are taught that it is unmasculine to not be self-sufficient. And there's speaking of someone who's spent his whole career in social services, there is a double standard when it comes to gendered expectations of self-sufficiency and who's deserving of like charity and care.
Sure.
Right? And that's to the detriment of both men and women. The assumption being that women, particularly women with children, must be taken care of. They cannot take care of themselves. And that men always can take care of themselves and nothing should be done which gives them any excuse at all not to be, quote, self-sufficient. Like if you encourage dependency in any way, you're doing them a disservice.
Right. And anyone who has like a progressive or structural analysis or believes in community or care at scale would say humans deserve to be taken care of, and we can create systems and structures that do that for all humans. And anyone who has a traditional view that wants us to go back to stark gender roles would say the way that women and children are taken care of is by being dependent and attached to a man, and that men are responsible for procreating, protecting, and providing. And that would be the exact same answer that J.D. Vance would give.
Right.
So I guess J.D. Vance and Scott Galloway are on the same side, people.
Yeah. Another thing that's notable here is that this research that society and men are hard on men who are not economically viable is why you have to pay for dinner if you want to have sex with a woman. So,
there's no data.
There's no data relationship between those two.
And also every time he says there's evidence and data, I'd like to know if there really is like a citation.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this is BS. These self-help guys, it's all BS. It's all like really poorly done, like sociology.
And if men aren't economically viable, that's just when the problems start, he contends. Quote, they're just going to have an absence of mating opportunities. And when men don't have romantic relationship, they tend to kind of come off the tracks. Unquote.
Yeah, so men are economically not viable and therefore cannot have sex and therefore are not in a romantic partnership with women and are therefore a problem in society. Now, that is the logic of those statements. Is that really the order of things?
It is crazy to me because I spent my whole career around people of limited means who are having plenty of sex. So, like, what demographic is he talking about? I mean, is he talking about a particular set of like downwardly mobile?
He's talking
guys
about
who are
this,
trying-
like, he's creating like a panic around like these incel, these white, maybe formerly middle class young people that are not dating and are not
right.
having children. And I bet you it's probably more white than it used to be. Like, I wonder if the stats are more on white folks. But I think what mostly he's doing is he's just painting a picture of this thing to have a moral panic about
Well,
in order to advance an argument.
He's basically he's saying that women, the reason why these guys can't find any romantic opportunities is because women will not have sex with you if you don't have money. So the problem is that there's a class of men who can't get access to relationships because the way women are constructed, which is they only care about men if they have resource, which is just not the case at all.
I mean, I think what his logic train, which I think is an incorrect assessment, not based on data, but based on notions, and also not logical, is just trying to launder the argument that women need to be in relationships with men. And we've lost that like idea or that commitment, and it's causing major problems socially. And it's partially on women to right men to make them whole.
Yeah.
And that men are supposed to meet certain standards to let women make them whole. And those standards, according to the marketing professor, is making money and being fit.
Yeah. There's this whole sort of subculture online about like men do not expect women to fix you, do not expect women to be your therapist. Like, do the work yourself. Women are not there to like be your emotional support animal. And I think all that is true. But in a lot of cases, when he's talking about men coming off the track, he's not talking about, well, they have the emotional ability and purpose of a family and stuff to get their shit together. He's talking about they still don't have their shit together, but the wife is there doing all the labor to make sure he's not living in filth, that he takes a shower once in a while, that like, you know, bills are paid and social engagements happen. She's dragging along someone who's more or less still a child.
Yeah.
But you know, she's there to make sure he's not rotting in a basement somewhere.
And the economic life and the support systems available for women in this lovely late stage capitalism also sucks. So the last thing she needs is like dead weight. That said,
which is why these guys get kicked. Why there's so many single mothers in part.
Yes.
It's because these guys, they're not contributing anything, even once they've been, quote, made whole, and so they get kicked
and it's
out.
not just that they're not economically contributing anything.
Right. 100% agree. I mean, contributing like changing diapers, getting up in the middle of the night, making the doctor's appointments, going to the school to do pickup, all these things.
And obviously, people who are isolated and don't have social relationships are problematic in society. We should fix that. But it's not the leap that it has to be like a heteronormative romantic relationship with women to fix this element of men is extremely outdated and like just honestly misses the point about what's happened. What I think is really happening socially with boys and men.
Yeah. All right. So here goes. He cites statistics that women fare much better without men than vice versa. Men have a difficult time maintaining friendships without a romantic partner. They tend to reallocate that energy into conspiracy theory, going extremely online, porn, and they never develop the skills to establish a romantic relationship. I would bet that a lot of men who are in relationships have those same problems. But
yeah, no kidding.
Galloway has been highly vocal about the tech industry and social media's role in compounding these problems by giving men easy dopamine hits and fewer reasons to ever leave their bedrooms. As he puts it, quote, I worry we are literally evolving a new breed of asexual, asocial male. Galloway's analysis can become somewhat Darwinian and reductive. A little bit, men are this and women are this, as if there's a one-size-fits-all set of solutions to these problems, colored by nostalgia for a bygone patriarchal order.
Right, exactly. Which, you know, it's the same as like the trad wife movement. But when he says he's afraid we're evolving this man, what circumstances is he identifying that men are adapted to in order to evolve into this type of man? What are the circumstances?
Oh, you're saying evolution is for adaptation to a situation.
Yeah, so if you're going to be Darwinian, I would imagine you'd have to explain the circumstances.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. What they're doing is that they're taking the men that exist and putting them in a context where they cannot be successful, which is what capitalism has always done. And you think the evolution would then be what? Immunity to dopamine? That would be the adaptation. That would be the evolution, is that men who are able to have sex and have and have social relationships because they are immune to dopamine.
Being distracted by their
Right.
phones. Well,
So-
I mean, you saw him talk about the dopamine thing. In this article hasn't talked about it yet. This article has yet to identify, other than I guess financial precarity, what's ailing our men.
What's being painted here is that men, without women in their lives, because women only care about money, they're not successful. They, instead of trying to become successful, they instead spend all of their time chasing dopamine in their bedrooms, and all the experiences of going out into the world, which would allow them to become successful like him, they're not having. And so they're permanently locked into a dopamine cycle as opposed to like a growth level up cycle.
Okay.
Nuances of race and sexuality are barely addressed, as Galloway readily admits. People say, well, what's the masculinity code for gay men? And the honest answer is, I have no fucking idea. I'm not even going to take a swing at it.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott. But isn't it also a bit Jordan Peterson? Peterson proposed his own cure for the masculinity crisis in his best-selling 2018 book, 12 Rules for Life, which received as much ridicule as it did praise. Rule number 1 was, quote, stand up straight with your shoulders back.
I mean, that's ridiculous advice, but it does seem like Scott Galloway took that book and 7 years later just repackaged it. Because he's saying things like, stand up straight, be strong, go,
Galloway took Jordan Peterson's book, read one book by Jonathan Haidt, and then repackaged Jordan Peterson for like Biden Democrats.
Yeah, and he might have even done it on like the DNC's like dime. I wonder how much this is like
a product, because they were saying it very explicitly. They need to fund
a product of figuring out how to manage the demographic issues. Yeah.
And we've had plenty of masculine self-help books in this mold since. Galloway has a surprising respect for Peterson, not least for broaching this subject before it became fashionable.
What's surprising about his respect for Jordan Peterson?
I guess that's it. This is the same arguments. The content is the same. The form is different.
It's been glossed.
It's been glossed by someone who's
a professional glosser. He's a
professional
marketer.
Yeah. Where we differ is that I find that Jordan basically uses his incredible skills of communication, and knowledge of psychology,
which Scott Galloway does not have. He has no knowledge of psychology.
Yeah, right. To spend all of his time talking about the ways that Disney films are destroying America. No, to always reverse engineer into an incredibly conservative viewpoint that sometimes, in my view, takes women's rights away. That it basically goes back to this notion of, quote, women are happiest when they're in a support role to men.
Unlike Scott Galloway, who does not reverse engineer his logic to come up with a pretty conservative solution, which is that there are essentially traditional norms and roles for men and women. And while it's okay if women want to have careers, what they really want is a man who can provide, protect, and procreate.
Right.
And we need to get men back on that track. Unlike Scott Galloway, who totally didn't back his way into that argument, knowing fully where he wanted to land, which was very similar to what Jordan Peterson said, except for a little bit less vitriolic sexism.
Yeah, the quiet part is still quiet with Galloway, which is what liberals have always respected. The Peterson's unrespectable because he takes a quiet part out of line. But there's no way to interpret the sentence, women won't have sex with you if you don't pay for dinner, besides believing that women are happiest when they're in a supporting role to men. 100%. That is what that means. There's no other way to understand that.
100%.
Galloway is at pains to point out that he's not blaming women for men's problems. Quote, I do not think the answer is to, in any way, economically disadvantage women, he says. I am not trying to repackage violence here and say that women need to lower their standards such that we don't have a bunch of angry men out there. I think men need to level up. And I think, as a society, we need to implement more programs to level up all young people. I mean, I agree with that. I do think that, like, unlike women's suffering historically, which has always been orchestrated intentionally to make women disadvantaged.
Mhm.
Most of the problems that men are facing have a lot to do with like the oppression that everyone is facing that they're less equipped to deal with,
Mhm.
and then like more
Yeah.
susceptibility to like
When
that.
when neoliberalism goes on a field day, which it has been doing for decades, to remove all supports to make a functioning society,
Uh-huh.
the group of people, cis white men who are used to being in the middle class, have had less experiences dealing with oppression and struggle. They have less. They don't understand how you use community to get through struggle. They don't understand. They maybe have different ideas about how, if you're experiencing struggle, is it a personal problem? And they don't have the skills.
Yeah.
And we know boys don't have the skills because we raised them to be pretty unskilled because of because of these ideas. So yes, you do have a group of people that are particularly vulnerable to this.
Yeah.
And they're not doing great.
Yeah.
None of us are doing great. They are not doing great.
Yeah.
I think he's being dishonest if he doesn't think that he's proposing a solution that is talking about splitting the pie differently. Because he's not identifying how to make a bigger pie.
Yeah.
He's not identifying why the pie is split the way it is. And he is saying, I don't want to take anything away from women, but I need men to be able to pay for dinner.
Yeah.
I need men to not have this sort of financial precarity. Where does that come from? Is that coming from the billionaires?
Yeah. I want to say that this idea of like, how do you survive this system? This has to do with like the disintegration of gender that we're watching, which is a long time coming. But like, if you look around you as a man, you might discover ways of surviving, but none of them are coded as masculine. Like the ways that men have traditionally survived is by exploiting women. That's how they survive. There's a reason why no one in my class knew how to do laundry when they showed up to college, and all the women did know how to do laundry. Like the exploitation of unpaid domestic labor, this definition of masculinity, which is essentially, well, it used to be domination over women was what made you a man. And if you're no longer legally and socially allowed to dominate women, what even is a man? What's the point of the social category? What are the scripts that allow that person who doesn't want to be feminine be successful?
Well, and Scott Galloway wants to just pull that part out. Like, there's still men will just pull out the domination part, and then and that's why you end up with these little catchphrases like procreate, protect, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way though. Like the reason procreate, protect, and provide is a stupid catchphrase is because that's what humans just generally do. It's not any more male than it is female.
Right.
And
that was the justification for women being a subordinate role, is that men need to have access to all the jobs, to social life, to politics, because their job is to protect, provide, and procreate,
while women take care of the private family.
So you don't have to worry about those things.
They do reproduction and care work.
Yeah.
And now, of course, women are doing all of that work.
Right.
And unless there's an analysis that he has about why in the society is care work coded female, should it not be coded female? Maybe it can be coded male. Like he's not offering anything better. He's not offering a wider set of things coded male.
Yeah.
He's just reiterating what has always been coded male and trying to pretend that that's a progressive avenue to be male.
Yeah. It's this nostalgia for a imaginary past, which is
fascism.
One half of fascism, the other half being cruelty. So he's
not doing the cruelty.
He's not doing the cruelty. Given all of this,
leave that one to Jordan. He said, yeah. I just had coffee with him. He said, I got cruelty. He goes, great. I'm going to do the other half.
Given all this, you wonder why he chose to focus just on men. Beyond his book and his TED Talk last year, for example, Galloway has persuasively argued that the real problems facing all of society, so especially in the U.S., are the transfer of wealth and power from the young to the old, and the commercialization of politics, healthcare, and higher education. When it comes down to it, he says, quote, "This is a battle between liberal and illiberal. It's not a battle between men and women. The genders have done a great job convincing themselves that it's the other gender's fault. I just don't think that that's productive."
Okay.
I don't know if they convince themselves of that.
So he thinks the pie, for most men and women, the way that the pie gets bigger is you redistribute wealth down from the 1% to the 99%. And then when the pie is bigger, men and women would share it.
Yeah, but what's the policy prescriptions here? Is it just a general, like, notional thing that, like, well, too much power is in the hands of old people, and there's been too much
Yeah,
commercialization.
too much
So
power in
what-
old people, and too much of that is going to, I guess, politics. So great, but where? Yeah, I mean,
Does he support a wealth tax on people like him?
yeah, and is he against Citizens United? Are we like rolling that back? I mean,
He probably is against that.
well, it sounds like he doesn't say in this book. It sounds like he was having TED Talks that were addressing this, and then he's like, I'm going to write a very narrow book that helps men be better men.
Yeah, you're right. All right, so here we go. Where Peterson and his ilk seek to trace men's problems back to the erosions of conservative values, Galloway does some reverse engineering of his own, back to a place of economic, romantic, and especially family security, i.e., conservative values.
Well, he's talking about, but he's talking about pre-neoliberalism. Is he talking about post-World War II? What's he talking
Galloway?
about? Yeah.
It's a good question.
When did this exist?
It's the same fake period of time, but colored differently.
Yeah.
If there's a moment, quote, when a boy comes off the tracks and develops problems later in life, he says, it's, quote, the moment he loses a male role model through death, divorce, or abandonment. The thesis is more personal than his data-driven approach. Okay, so
he has an abandoned father story.
He does, and apparently his
abandoned son.
Father had his even worse father. And I'm going to skip some of this personal story stuff, but yeah, it comes to a personal story about not having a male role model.
Why has he abandoned any of his economic analysis to make a book about boys? And the answer is because his dad left him.
When Galloway tells his origin story, he does not paint himself as an exceptional talent. He was unremarkable academically and physically, better at scoring weed than picking up women, it seems. I guess until he had that $150 million, he started telling on himself, like, no woman would fuck me until I started throwing money around. This must be the way all women are. It has nothing to do with me. He puts his success as much down to luck and structural advantages. Well, that's wise of him. Yep. Yep. This is the form. Like I need to hear you say this because you
had some structural advantage because you're a white guy. Yeah.
Good schooling in a prosperous state and a prosperous country. Sure. Not being subject. There's a little bit of nationalism thrown in there. Not being subject to racial or gender discrimination.
Right.
A loving mother. Scraping into a good university. The University of California, Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, the truth is, I was born on third base. But having grown up relatively poor, economic security was always his motivation. I took very much like how do you win capitalism approach.
Yeah. How do you win capitalism, Scott?
How do you win capitalism? I guess
you make $150 million.
You find something that rich people very much want to hear you say on a TED Talk stage is what you do.
In his approach of how do you win capitalism, he personally pursued things to win it, and has also noted that the social fabric of the country is a fucking disaster, but that is absolutely unrelated to capitalism.
Yeah.
And all these asexual men are losing capitalism, and he wants to train them up.
I mean, does it ever occur to him that people could spend much more of their life trying to make the world a better place than trying to win capitalism? He was also fortunate to hit his stride as an entrepreneur just as the dot-com bubble boom was beginning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Blah, 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 blah. Your Galloway's role models. The first two he offers are Muhammad Ali and, more surprisingly, Margaret Thatcher.
Oh my God. This is dumb guy. This is a dumb guy book that I guess is written for boomers, especially with those as his example heroes. I can't even make sense of that.
It seems to be like light reading for people who are like irritated that their son won't move out of the basement is what it seems.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
For all his life lessons, Galloway is not afraid to admit his own fallibility and vulnerability.
I know. Blah, blah, blah.
When his father died earlier this year, for example, he spoke movingly about it and wept on his Pivot show. Crying is good for men, he argues.
Crying is good for humans.
That's the answer to our question. Quote, yeah, it's good for all humans. Quote, for the last 3,000 years, we've been taught if you demonstrate weakness, and a way to demonstrate weakness is crying, that some other dude might take your shit, fuck your wife, and eat your children. And so
wow.
Yeah. And so men have been taught to not express that weakness. And the good news is we live in a modern society where people are not going to kill you because you cry, and it just feels really good.
Oh my gosh. This guy's a disaster. Okay. Yes, absolutely. You should be crying, Scott. I love the crying. And the reason boys and men don't cry is because they've been taught ideas about weakness. Because of shit like your job is to provide, protect, and procreate, and people won't have sex with you unless you're financially accomplished, which is impossible because of structural imbalances. That's the fear of weakness that's stuck with men. This idea that there's all these things you're supposed to do and supposed to perform, but you are necessarily made impotent because of structures around you, and no one is around to help you, and no one can help you because that would be weakness. That's a much stronger message than, I don't know what television shows he was watching that said if you cry someone will fuck your mother, but like
fuck your wife.
oh, I'm sorry. Kill your mother.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean,
is he this simple? But I think what's really happening is that this guy was hand selected to write this book, and he does not have a coherent model.
Yeah.
Nor does his book have a coherent model.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that the problem with liberalism anyway? Though, is it's always incoherent.
Yeah.
He's really started interrogating it. He didn't cry between the ages of 29 and 44. He says, "Now, quote, I don't have anything that holds me back from crying. And it's not an attempt to demonstrate my femininity. It's just an attempt to slow time down."
So he just said the thing that he just wants to be clear. Crying isn't about showing his femininity because crying is coded as feminine.
Yeah.
It's just a mess. I think he's a mess. I think he needs therapy.
Rigorous.
Slow time down. How is crying slowing time down? Does he have a crying time machine? Is that really what it said?
I don't even know what that means, slowing time down. It's baffling. It's just, he's like, he wants to be like, it's not performative, so that because I'm not trying to show you that I'm comfortable with my feminine side. But it's incomprehensible what slows time down. I don't know what that means. All right. So he talks about his fitness regime,
which is a big part of his prescription.
Yeah, and he's doing testosterone injections, and also cannabis edibles.
Yeah, he's like one of these. This is very, very like manosphere, bro-y fitness, like pretending everything is data backed, but it's not really.
Yeah,
it gives Huberman vibes.
I don't know who that is.
He's a podcaster who's like gotten in trouble for like pushing certain wellness ideas that are like woo woo. But he also gets good guests, and he's got ideas. He's got, he wants men to be the best version of themselves. And a lot of that's about like optimizing yourself, wellness, like, all these like body trends, and like how you do, it's basically how do you as an individual, where you basically, what are all the body hacking? Yeah. What are all the ways to like really level up your performance? I guess that's coded masculine, which would make sense.
This entire, like, the more I hear about this, the more I'm like, the entire problem with this entire pursuit is self-obsession, bordering on narcissism.
Sure.
Like, all of these people, including Galloway, need something else to care about that's not them.
Well, and what it just reminded me of, we were listening to Gordon Neufeld talking, the child development attachment actual psychologist, and he was saying that like it's really important that humans engage in things that are not for outcomes, that are not all outcome based, especially because humans, children need to play, but adults need to play, and play cannot be outcome based. And it's very interesting to think of these guys, Galloway, Huberman, all of the influencers that are really into sort of wellness or body hacking, or how do you optimize your social emotional intelligence. It is all outcome based. It's a very capitalist project.
Yeah.
And that is not the solution to masculinity. Yeah. It's navel gazing, and it's this idea that you're working with a raw material that is yourself, and if you just optimize it right,
yeah,
it will solve problems for you.
Your reason for being on Earth is to win, essentially, life. And to win life, you need to make all the right choices about what you spend your time doing, what you're taking into yourself, working on your physical body. And for most people, they're not going to become $150 million by optimizing. They're not going to get all that money by optimizing. He got lucky, and all the other people born on third base are not going to get lucky like he got lucky. But even if they did, he's
arguing you also get to have more sex, and you get to have romantic relationships with women.
Yeah, but
if you optimize.
right, you get to have all the things in life that you want, all these experiences that you want. You get. That's how you win.
Right.
And
It's irrational
and at the
and
end,
unattainable.
yeah, but it's also like empty. And to live life this so hyper focused on yourself and your own experiences and getting what you want, like how do you get to the end of a life spent that way and be like, I really spent my time, I really did this the right way.
Yeah.
Like being part of something bigger than yourself is so much better for your mental health, your sense of purpose, your sense of worth.
Mm-hmm.
It like if you don't have anything in your life that you're like, I'm going to miss working out today because I'm committed to this thing, which is a project that's not for me, but it's for the world, then you're missing out on like the most important things about being a human being.
Yeah. Humans are relational and they're social, and you can't possibly capture that by, like, again, optimizing your intake, your productivity, and achieving a certain output. And anytime you are being that output based, as well, if it's based totally on your own body, it is a type of narcissism, but anytime you're that output based, that's all work. You are only engaging in work, and that is also not what humans are meant to do.
Right.
So, I mean, honestly, I think this is a setup. This type of advice and this type of culture, which is also heavily on social media, getting into your dopamine addiction stuff, is setting boys and men up for a really, really hard fall.
Right. And it's also what it's doing is essentially saying at the end of the day, these things are all your fault.
Yeah, you're not good enough.
Yeah. All these things ways that you're designed to fail, if you can't escape them like I did, well, I did, so why didn't you? You failed.
Yeah, and we're gonna target you on social media to hear about it, and we're gonna sell you products to hear about it, to get to it, and you're going to have all these goals around what you should look like or how you should work out that you'll probably fail at, which will cause further anxiety and isolation, which will be further heightened by more social media consumption, and you will end up back in that basement, sad and alone.
Yeah, I mean his entire media thing is dependent upon these social media platforms that they're keeping people's eyeballs on his shit.
Yeah, so going back, I don't know where you are in your artifact, but going back to where we started, you're very interested in this dopamine addiction in men. Has Scott Galloway enhanced your understanding of the phenomenon?
Not at all. I mean, he essentially agrees with me that it's a problem, but at the end of the day, his wallet says, "Thank God it's a problem."
Oh yeah.
And his solutions are basically like, "Get your shit together, guys." It's crazy.
Sponsored by the cannabis edibles that Scott Galloway prefers.
That's crazy. I mean, there's this thing of like, oh, leftists, you're just jealous. Like, you cannot go through life believing that everyone is this concerned about their own situation. I don't want to live Scott Galloway's life. His life horrifies me. I want to live in a world where everyone is better off than they are. Like, all people are better off than they are now. I don't want to personally live Scott Galloway's life. And if you can't, like, that gives so much more purpose and meaning to my life than $150 million would.
I think that we should find a better expert to talk about dopamine addiction.
Maybe we'll find,
because apparently Scott Galloway is not an expert in these matters.
No, I guess not.
He seems to be an expert in his own life, and
and believes that that's universally applicable. I mean, one day, all men will just have $150 million from their lucky.com investments,
and they can live in London and take testosterone injections. And...
Oh, yeah. That's another thing. Like, he said something in this our interview about how you don't abandon your nation in times of trouble. You go to your nation because it needs you. And all these liberal professors who are like,
he lives in London.
He literally moved from Florida to London. Like a couple of years ago.
He actually said that's so ridiculous.
I guess he's considering a move back.
Is he considering a run for president?
He should. He should work. You know, maybe he'll be the RFK, but for Gavin Newsom's presidential run.
Or maybe you could do like Galloway Winfrey ticket.
Yeah. I mean, she'd have to be the top of the ticket, right?
All right, fine. Winfrey Galloway.
I can see it.
It's a better rolls off the tongue better.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, they have
powers will fade.
No, they do not.
As you grow.
I heard it here first.
Your powers
all right. Well,
will fade.
Done and dusted.
As you grow.
Adios.
Your powers will fade. As you grow. Your powers will fade. As you grow. You're on the make. and you don't do regret. You're always out for what you can get. You think like a snake, and you ooze like a snail. Let the trail go cold as you swallow your tail. With your low rent skills and your heart of flint, telling your tales that are unfit to print. You're all weasel words, backed up by the boots, obsessed like the rest, with a promise of loot. Your pies will fade as you grow old. 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 You demand of the sea, it obey your commands. You grab at the land with both of your hands. But candles will burn, and time will reveal all that you've done and the money you steal. The suffering you're causing gives you no pause for thought. You've got your claws in the dead summer's heart. Birds will return, as the birds always do. When they come home to roost, they'll feast on you. Your pies will fade as you grow old. Your pies will fade as you grow old. Your pies will fade as you grow old. Your pies will fade as you grow old.
Ooh, that's good.
I know.
Holy shit. That's almost no burn at all.
No, mine shouldn't burn.
Well, it always burns.
It's only $19. It's pretty nice.
Damn.
I know.
That's terrific.
I like it as well.
No, we're going at the end of the podcast.